have to be human? Feed me. Does it have to be mine? Feed me. Where am I supposed to get it? Feed me, Seymour. Feed me all night long. That's right.
Yeah. Feed me, Seymour. We're going to get real toasty and talk about Venus flytraps today because that's going to lead into some more spicy talk about the usual shit we talk about on here, secret history and whatnot. But anyways, it is interesting. You're the one who made me look into it because you brought it up one time and I was interested myself. And it is an interesting plant because I didn't realize like the technical Venus flytrap is only bred or only lives, I guess, in one state.
Really?
Yes.
Well, so it's not native, obviously, but so where does it originally come from, though?
It's native to South Carolina.
What?
Yes, and it's
Really?
very, very southern part of like Northern Carolina.
That's great. Like,
Yeah.
because it's a swampy area? Like, those are like tropical plants, I feel like. So I guess if they get a lot of rain, they're off the Gulf of Mexico, though, right?
No, they're off the Atlantic.
Oh, Georgia's more that way.
Yeah, so I don't know. I forget why, it's that area specifically, but there's a reason why. It's literally just a county or two, too. It's not even like the whole state. It's just like a small little area that these happen to just grow in. And they're their own like genome. They're a monotype, so they literally are their own species. I honestly don't know how to pronounce the word. It's Dianaceae. Dinanaceae or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what they are. That's their whole genome. That's what that word is dedicated to, is just the Venus flytrap. That is what it is. But it's closely related to sundews. They're like a cousin, basically, of the Venus flytrap. That's the only thing it's related to. Sundews and Venus flytraps are just kind of their own thing.
And two completely different environments too. Like, how are those related?
So, basically, in prehistoric times, there possibly were Venus flytraps back then too, but they think what these plants are the closest related to is a plant that existed in prehistoric times, but something happened where, you know how the roots are the thing that need the water and all that, they're the ones that feed and help the plant grow. So something happened where the genome got freed up where the eating part went to the root went to the stem, I should say, instead of the roots. The roots, that part of them that wanted the feed, something happened to their environment where they needed to go up, basically, and so something happened where it freed up that genome in general to switch to something else completely. And so over a million years or some shit like that, this freed up space got filled by this genome to actually want to eat.
Carnivorous.
Yeah, because it needed the feed. It was dying because it no longer was feeding from the roots. This thing was confused, whatever plant this was back in the day, and so it found a way to start feeding itself naturally and
That's
stuff.
Interesting. So those plants existed when there was like great drought or something?
Something happened that
crazy.
made it, switch its genome to a different part of the plant and stuff, like the survival part. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting. Like I said, very rare that would ever happen. They said that, like I said, took millions of years, basically. The duplicate themselves, too, was a huge thing, too, to actually reproduce and stuff. Like, they're a whole different species, so just for them to keep living on took a long, long time as well. That's basically the gist, though.
How did they... I have 2 points. One's a question, but how do they reproduce then? Since they're, like, that's a weird thing for a plant to be carnivorous. So do they reproduce like normal, like giving off pollen and stuff like that?
Probably seeds, I don't really know. I'm guessing it's maybe even a parthenogenesis thing where they just make duplicates of themselves. They split off of themselves, maybe.
That's crazy.
A lot of plants do that, and even certain lizards. There's a certain lizard that parthenogenesis is the way they actually reproduce. They clone themselves. That's actually in that same concept as used in Star Wars Legends, because there's a species, reptilians, that do that. They have no way of having sex, so they clone themselves. As basically a parthenogenesis thing. So they literally are themselves. So, like, there's one Jedi, his name's Dorsk 81, because he's the 81st one of his clonage, basically, of his parthenogenesis line. And then his father, I guess, was Dorsk 80, and then his son is technically Dorsk 82. And just constantly reproduce off of each other and stuff. So
That's interesting.
yeah, it's because some species, just like in, Gaia kind of research and talk, they talk about how there's a lot of alien species that they don't reproduce sexually or anything like that. And supposedly humans didn't either when we were giants. That was the thing, was parthenogenesis. When Lemuria was a thing, that giants reproduced by cloning themselves naturally, like eggs, basically. They laid eggs, supposedly, back in ancient times. And I've heard that from multiple sources over the last 10, 15 years. I've been researching shit that there was a time before where we were all hermaphrodites. Yes, hermaphrodites ruled the world, and then
We're slowly going back to that, though, are we not?
I know, that's what I mean. That's why, as much as people would mock me for saying this, but this transgender movement is just a very confused way of us getting back into that. We're so closed off from such an idea that we can't even fathom it. But the most ancient, what was his name? Started with a B. He was the most ancient historian of all time. He existed in Babylon. He's the one that mentioned this because he actually had records of before time, basically what you would call Atlantis and stuff like that. He described a time when humans were all hermaphrodites and stuff.
Crazy.
And I believe it. I think this whole story of Osiris getting his penis cut off and then put back on him, and Jesus being hung on a cross for our sins, all that shit has to do with us moving into an age of having sex and stuff and corrupt, because now we're moving into a primal stage, or we went back into a primal stage at one point. We started back consciously and stuff, and now we're working our way back up, and that's why we have ADHD, transgenders, all this other shit, because now we're we're ramping up, because supposedly somewhere in the universe or in the galaxy in general, there's a line basically. And when you go through this line of, it's like energy, or a consciousness line, basically, everything speeds up. Like, you literally go through, like, this time warp of energy and shit. So, like, we're going through a time of super fast conscious growth right now. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I could see it. Things are quickly just changing to be more and more bizarre lately.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like.
Absolutely.
But, no, can I go back to the Venus flytrap thing?
Yes.
I just had a weird thing, like, it's just kind of one of those, plants, like the jellyfish is to our animal kingdom. Like, it's just uniquely, it went out a while ago.
Oh, you're good.
I've just been holding it, but, like, octopuses, they're like, or octopuses and jellyfish maybe, or maybe it's just octopuses, like, nothing is fucking like that, but it's like in the animal kingdom. Like, I don't know, I just find that interesting because that's very rare. Normally there's many species and, different variations of organisms, and for it to just be its single self is just kind of interesting.
And I think it is too, and who knows, I mean, this is all scientific theory, and people need to realize that not only are we spitting theories, but so are most of these scientists. When they talk about certain things, it's not proven. Just like what we're talking about, it's not proven. You can look at us crazy, but you also have to look at scientists crazy, because they honestly don't know all the answers. Same with the Venus flytrap thing. This is all speculation. They're guessing this is where this plant maybe came from, is that somehow it switched around, its survival method and stuff. But, like she's saying about the octopus, there could be something, like a comet, flying over Earth just into the atmosphere. Something falls off of it, gets into the soil, but boom, grows something foreign to this planet. That's how some people think octopus came about, even as a meteor itself hit, into the ocean, and something came off of it, some microbial life or some kind of bacteria that formed later on into something more, over millions, billions of years and shit like that. But anyways, it's not that unfathomable. Even the Spanish flu, supposedly, That even could have been caused by a meteor coming through our sky, because the first 2 cases of the Spanish flu, one was in India and one was in Boston. If you do the trajectory or whatever, the fucking line across the globe, it's a perfect line where a meteor definitely could have flown past India and Boston, and something could have been sprinkling off of this meteor across.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it's called Spanish flu. It's